here. So in the last class, what we had looked at was three different whorls, that is calyx, corolla, and the androecium, and we were left with one more, that is the gynoecium. So we'll continue with that, and then last part, that is inflorescence and placentation. So again, the gynoecium part, you know it very well. We had kind of briefed about it earlier. It is also known as carpels and pistils when they are in singular forms, and together we call them gynoecium. This is composed of stigma, style, and ovary. So, in short, the stigma is a terminal knob-like part. So, in this case, which is shown here, this upper portion, this is again a hibiscus flower, which is just with a better magnification in terms of its reproductive structure. So, this particular part, the round ball-like structure or knob-like structure, that is stigma, and it is divided into two or more lobes. Inside, internally, it is divided into two or more lobes, depend on again what type of plant it is. That way, it will be divided, and it may assume feathery appearance, or it may be covered with hair or granular papillae. Papillae is nothing but a layer, so granular layer, like a rough surface. And the reason of this feathery appearance or hair or this granular papillae is just to attract the insects, so that those insects can go and sit on those stigmas. And that is the reason of having this structure. And main purpose of the stigma or function of stigma, it serves as the landing place for the pollen sac during the pollination. So as and when the insects comes, and due to their like legs might have some pollen grain, or the sting that they have, it might have pollen grain. So because of all of this, the pollen grains or the pollen sac itself will be deposited on the stigma. Then that will rupture, it will mature, it will go inside through the tube up to the ovary, where the fertilization will happen with the ovary. So that is the function of the stigma. So sometimes what we call as maturation. So in the last class, we had looked at that rupture of the pollen sac due to the excess amount of water absorption inside them. So that sometimes happens on the stigma, sometimes it happens on the male flower itself, or the male stamen itself. So depends on again what kind of pollination, what kind of fertilization, and so on. But the general process is the pollen grain has to, the pollen sac has to absorb water. It will rupture, or something, or like an insect has to break it open, right? So that way the pollen grains will be released, that will be fallen onto the stigma, and from there they will go further for the fertilization. So that is stigma. Here what you need to remember is the texture, the shape, and the function. That's it, nothing more than that. The style, which is the second part of the gynoecium, which is a tubular slender stalk. Stalk means a tubular structure, yeah, or something which holds the others. Here it is holding on to the stigma part, and which connects the stigma to ovary. So stigma is connected to the ovary at the bottom with this style, and the main function of this style is only to connect between stigma and ovary, and to allow the movement of pollen grain towards the ovary. So that is the function. Ovary, it is again one of the most important female reproductive structure here, which is a swollen basal part. So at the base of every flower, there will be a swollen part, and that is usually the ovary. And it can have one or many carpels. That means it can have either one ovary, or it can also have many ovaries surrounding each other. And the inner cavity of the ovary is like again can be a single chamber, or can be divided into several chambers, that is called as locules, while the same thing in case of androecium was called as lobes. So if
Can you
you
speak?
remember, sorry, someone wants to say something. Okay, I guess that was a mistake then. So like anthers also, there were two lobed, and each of these lobe had pollen sac. Yes, Ishan.
So, sir, in the other side, gynoecium slide,
Hmm?
it said that, yeah, composed of the ovary is composed of one or many carpels,
Yes.
but the ovary is a part of the couple, right?
Correct. So what this means is the gynoecium is composed of one or many carbon. Ovary is the swollen basal part. I guess I missed the comma here. So ovary is the swollen basal part, and then gynoecium is composed of one or many carpels. So that's the actual meaning of it.
Wait, what was carpel? I forgot.
Carpel is a singular form of the style stigma and ovary, and collective.
Oh, like the whole thing.
Yeah. So for example, let's say this is style, this is stigma and ovary is at the base. This one thing will be called as carpel, and together all of them will be called as gynoecium.
Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower.
So many carpels can share the same style
Yeah. It's like again,
and the same ovary.
yeah, it's the same here also. Like we had sometimes stamens fused or anther fused. Here, in this case, these styles can be fused together as a one single tube.
So that's like, so but can one flower have more than one ovary? Or
Yeah,
okay.
very much possible. Like grape or berries, most of your berries, they have quite a lot of ovaries, and those individual, even strawberry, right? Those individual like round part on the strawberry, that is like one particular carpel.
And so what did you say like about styles getting fused together?
So in some of the cases, like here you can see a little part of the style is free, but rest of it is fused. All five of them, they are fused here at one position.
Oh, okay.
So that way they make one single tube up to ovary. That is the style part. Okay, so I hope I clarified everyone's doubt. If someone has it, please feel free to say it. So ovary is the swollen basal part, and ovary is a part of carpel, and there can be one or many of these carpels within the gynoecium of that particular flower. Now, the inner cavity of the ovary can have a single chamber or can be divided into many chambers, and these individual chambers, they have specific name which is called as locule. So in anther we had lobes. Lobes had pollen sac, and pollen sac had pollen grain. In ovary we have one or many locules, and these locules will have ovule. So each locule will contain a certain number of ovules, and the cushion or the swollen region in the ovary attaching the ovules to the wall of the ovary is called as placenta. Now placenta is nothing but like seeds, not the seeds, the ovules of these ovaries, they are attached to inner walls of the ovary, and that particular extended stalk from the ovule to the inner wall of the ovary, which is more cushion like, that is called as placenta. Like even in case of human also, how we have from baby to mother, there is a kind of tubular attachment, right? That is placenta.
I did not understand one thing.
You did not understand this thing?
No, sir. If the ovules are inside the ovaries, then how are the ovaries and ovules connected by
So like I said, from the ovule to the inner walls of the ovary, there will be a connection. So for example, let me show you here. Where is that diagram? Yeah, here. Yeah, you can see there are all these ovules, these round parts, they are attached. For example,
Yes,
this
sir.
one, very simplistically, this is the ovule and it is attached to the inner wall of the ovule. So this particular part is called as placenta. In this case, this kind of small thread-like structure, these will be placenta. Even in this case, these two we'll have the small placenta like this. All of these, they are placenta. So this is the ovule, round part, and the elongated part is the placenta, which is attached to the inner walls of the ovary, and they can have a different arrangement, which we'll see in the placentation.
So that marginal one is like peas, right?
Yeah. And you can, in case of peas, like green peas, you can see that particular placenta. Sometimes there is just outside.
Yeah,
there
like
is-
when you take the peas out, like it's like there's a tiny thing attaching it to the
right.
wall.
So that is
Yeah.
nothing but the placenta. And even in case of papaya, if you cut it open, you see the seeds are black, and next to that black part, there will be very transparent thin, like, you know, a hair-like structure. That is also a placenta, or in which case you can see it very prominently. I can't recollect as such. In corn also you can see that. In corn, when you
Yeah, corn a lot.
yeah,
Corn.
remove those like seeds, what you get at the bottom is just a little thread like structure. There is a cup like structure on which each of the corn seed is fitting into, but it is attached to the main fruit with certain placenta. Okay, so I hope this part is clear, and that is all about the gynoecium. Now,
So what is the function of the placenta?
just to attach the ovule to the ovary. Imagine, no, if the ovules are there, they have to be attached inside the ovary to something, right? Otherwise, they will make that it will just keep roaming around. That should not happen. Roaming around in the sense, they'll just free flowing within the ovary otherwise. And when the fertilization time has come, they have to be at one place so that the pollen grain can easily find the ovary or the ovules, and then they can fertilize then and there itself. So the main function is the attachment.
So similar to umbilical cord.
Yes. So umbilical cord is, in other words, it is also called as placenta. So the part which is close to the baby, that is nothing but the placenta.
Oh.
Anyone else has any other question? Okay, so the four walls we have completed, and now we'll move on to the next part, that is the inflorescence and placentation. First, inflorescence, which is the mode of arrangement of the flowers on an axis. That means, let's say if there is a particular branch, how the flowers they are arranged around that branch, that is nothing but the inflorescence. Like you would have seen a particular type of inflorescence, like when you specially give a bouquet to someone, a flower bouquet, right? Flowers they are arranged in a certain manner, especially if there are orchids and stuff. They have a typical arrangement, like a feathery appearance, like flowers they are arranged on one particular axis, and that is nothing but the inflorescence. So, and these inflorescence, they can be of different types. We are going to look at specific two types, that is racemose and cymose, which is the most common type of inflorescence. That is racemose refers to a terminal bud continues to grow further, resulting in the orientation of the youngest flower at the apex and the oldest at the base. That means as and when the branch grows, you will find older flowers at the base, and younger flowers will keep coming as and when the branch grows. That is racemose inflorescence. So for example, this type of inflorescence, like you can see that these are the old flowers and the branch is growing further, and the young flowers they keep coming as and when the twig or the branch grows. Example is mustard, or the snapdragon or crotalaria. Snapdragon again is quite common flower you would have seen in the bouquets, or especially in the home gardening stuff. and Crotalaria is also something similar. If you don't know, let me quickly show you snapdragon flower. So
Oh yeah, I've seen.
these ones, yeah, these are called as snapdragon. The reason being the individual flower, they have something similarity with the dragon face. Yeah, if you look at here, you can feel like, not exactly, but that just a kind of analogy some people must have used to give a name. So this looks like a dragon face, and that's why this is named as snapdragon. And even the Crotalaria is yellow colored Crotalaria flower. This is also something similar, like for example this one, yeah, or even this one. This also is very commonly seen in the wild around us. So these are Crotalaria flowers, which means the older flowers, they will be at the base, and the younger flowers, they will be at the top. So that is the racemose inflorescence. Go. Then the cymose inflorescence is exactly opposite. So the terminal bud grows and dies, resulting in the orientation of the oldest flower at the apex, that is at the top, and the young flower at the base. So this grows in the opposite manner, and again this looks like this. So these will be the old flower, right? And once, like especially in case of like jasmine, or what we know commonly as parijat, or prajakta, it is known as, or it is also night jasmine, that is nyctanthus. That these kind of flowers, or even calotropis is again commonly known flower. I'm sure calotropis, you know it. It just, you may not know this scientific name of it. So calotropis, we call it rui. In Marathi, it is called as rui. These ones. Yes.
Oh,
And I've seen this,
yeah.
Because
like
it's,
when we went to Bhima,
Huh?
there was some trees Nietzsche, and I forgot the name. Like they pop out, right? When you do something, they pop out into,
This one?
yeah.
Yeah, means you play games with these flowers, because this has, that 5-5 thing. So you tell a story based on this, like there were these 5 whatsoever, protectors, and then there was a king or queen at the center, and then there were inner guard circles. So there is some story with this flower. Actually, this calotropis fruit, it is also really very interesting now, because we are here. This thing, yeah, you would have seen this also. When this will pop up, you actually get that feathery thing, yeah, this one, right? Individually,
pod, right?
yeah, pods.
So big. Like,
And when this will fly, it will have that feathery, round feathery appearance, and that is
oh,
very,
that's why you call it Rui, or what?
yeah, that's why
I
we
think
call it
I've
rui.
seen something like this. I don't think I've seen exactly this, but
We can actually see it here, these individual ones.
yeah.
They separate later once this pod pops up. These,
Yeah, so when you blow on them gently, they fly away, right?
yeah, exactly. So that is this calotropis.
It's like
So
cotton, no?
if at all you are religious, these leaves, they are being given to the Hanuman, or even the Shani Dev. This is that particular plant, just to let you know. Okay, so that these are the 2 different types. So in racemose, what you have is the older flower at the base, and the younger ones at the top. And in cymose, you have exactly opposite. That is, the younger ones, they are at the base, and the older, they are at the top, or at the apex. We, in this case, we don't see top and bottom. We usually say apex and base. And the reason being, apex is the tip, or if you want to say, instead of top, you can say the tip of the branch, and that way it will be more like scientific than the top part. Yeah, top I use just for the simplification to understand something. And again, the examples you can easily remember. I don't know if you have ever seen mustard flower, but mustard, they also look like that snapdragon. It's again yellow flower. I hope
Mustards also have these type of pods, right?
mustards also have pods, correct. What was I going to search? Mustard flower. Yeah, you can see this. So, and they are usually like this. Yeah. So that means the younger ones, they keep coming on the top, and the older ones, they are at the base. Like in this case, now this is,
Raceme, right?
yeah. So it is racemose. I don't know if there is any better picture. Yeah, this is the one. You can see the younger ones, they will keep coming at the top,
Oh yeah.
and the older ones, they will be at the base.
Yeah, sometimes they put this flower ka image on the mustard oil ka bottle.
Yeah. So actually, if you want, you can simply plant these mustards at home. You need not buy it at all. One plant gives you quite a lot of seeds, and that you can keep using over the time. So that's a very beautiful plant, mustard, and it grows in any condition. It doesn't,
I have a mustard plant in my balcony.
yeah. So that is something that you can grow anywhere very quickly, and doesn't even need lot of water or a lot of sunlight. It grows just like that. Okay, so these were the different types. Now the last one additional type, that is the compound inflorescence. It is nothing but when the alternate branches of the same plant, they have racemose and cymose. That is what is compound inflorescence. Again, this is not part of the syllabus, but I just thought I should mention it to you that there are various other types, and one of them is the compound one. So that is racemose, where the young flowers are top, cymose, older flowers are at the tip, and the compound one where it is a mix of cymose and racemose. Again, you need not remember the compound, but that was just for your information.
But can you just like show one compound?
Compound inflorescence.
Yeah.
So it will be difficult to identify as such, because if we don't have better picture, then it will be very difficult. Let's
They
say,
don't put the images of the plants.
not sure. Compound umbel. Now this is a different one.
Yeah, there are many images.
Yeah, now for example, let's say like these are the various branches, right? And on the branches, what you have is, let's say, cymose inflorescence. That means the young flowers are at base, and the old flowers, they are at the top. But then when these branches are arising, the young branches, if they are at the base, so that's like branching and sub branching. But in the branches, you have a different inflorescence, and in the sub branches, you have different inflorescence. That means the if the young flowers are at the tip, and the young branches, they are at the base. So that way it makes a compound inflorescence. I hope you understood what I wanted to say. I'm not sure though. Let me see, check. I don't know where are the flowers. Flowers. But see, that is what I said. Like here, it's very difficult to identify which one is which. So this is usually true with these cases. Compound capitulum. No, this is not the one for sure. Yeah, here is one example you see. This is kind of explaining that part.
Yeah.
Right? But then again, we have to think a bit and then understand this concept. Yeah. Okay. So that is about the inflorescence. And the last part or last topic of this chapter is the placentation. which is now placenta, like I mentioned. It is a type of tissue or a particular tissue which attaches the ovule to the wall of the ovary, and this is specifically the inner wall of the ovary. And placentation is the arrangement of these ovules in the ovary of a plant. Like that means how they are arranged. Now, without going in these descriptions here, I will directly show you here, right? So marginal means they are attached to the margin of the flower or the what you say, the ovary, which ultimately becomes into the fruit. In this case, this is a pod, which is again a fruit. So along the margin, you can see. In this case, it is also marginal. The reason being, it is attached to one side at the apex, that is at the tip, and that is why it is still marginal placentation of the ovule. There can be one ovule or there can be many ovule, and if they are attached to margin, that is called as marginal placentation. Parietal, this parietal, yeah, I guess marginal example is legumes. That is all your legumes type of plant, all your garden pea or green peas variety of the plant, they will have all this marginal placentation. And the parietal one, that is the inner walls of the ovary, they have a special point on the inner walls where these parietal ovules, they will be attached. So that means, like you can see here, it is little extended part on which the ovule is attached. Here at this side, now because this is a two-dimensional thing, you may not be able to visualize it, but otherwise at this part, there will be a little outgrowth, sorry, ingrowth, not the outgrowth, and on that this ovule will be attached. So something like this is parietal, which is along the inner wall of the ovary. Then axile, these are along the central axis. For example, tomato. Like tomato, if you break open, all the seeds are on the inner core, and then the wall of the ovary that you see,
Capsicum also.
thicker section. Sorry?
Capsicum also.
Capsicum, correct. Capsicum also. So these are all your axile, which are located on the central axis. The ovules, they are on the central axis. Then the free central, that means these are again located on the central axis, but the central axis is not connected throughout the fruit. It is only present like a pillar inside the what you say, the fruit. And here is the kind of cross section of this fruit. So the no, where is it? Free central, the example is dianthus. Now dianthus, again, you may not know, so let me show you what is dianthus fruit.
So I didn't get the difference between marginal and parietal.
Okay, I will explain. So this is dianthus fruit actually. Yeah,
It's like an apple.
yeah, like an apple. I'm not sure why they don't show the fruit picture when I ask for the fruit. I guess this one.
It's like beans, right?
It's like banana.
Yeah. I don't know how,
Yeah.
where exact. Maybe I will search it later and post the picture. Yeah.
They showed kiwi niche.
Sorry.
They showed a kiwi in some photo.
Here.
So
This is different, but
oh, okay. I thought
Maybe this is longitudinal section and that is horizontal section.
yeah. But again, the number of seeds is different. Otherwise, the what we say, the arrangement would look like the same, like this one. But I still doubt that, because I feel kiwi is more like axile. So, and here if you see, like the central axis is kind of broken in this fruit, while here it is intact, like throughout the length of the fruit. And that is the difference between these two. In marginal and parietal, the difference is this margin is only one side. In parietal, it need not be one side. It can be all across the inner wall.
Hmm.
That is the difference. I guess who asked it? Anadya.
Yes.
So that is the difference there. So this is free central and then axile. And basal, we all know where is the base of the flower, where it is attached to the plant. That is usually the base. And if the ovule is attached to that particular side, that will look like what we say, the basal placentation. Again, this is the transverse section of the same pod. And superficial is nothing but like there will be several compartments, and along this compartment the seeds will be attached. That will be superficial placentation.
That's like orange and stuff.
Yeah, so that is not even on the wall, not even on the axis, but they are inside. I guess even watermelon should fall into this category,
How watermelon?
because watermelon seeds, they are distributed not at the axis, not at the walls, but in between.
So like in orange, it's like I've seen like in the orange, there's like these small, sacks or something like it. Inside that there's like orange ka thing.
But orange is mostly you will find the seeds at the central portion.
Yeah, so they like come from the center and then all around that does the fruit.
Yeah, and that's when I said watermelon, which is more like the seeds you will find distributed all over that pulp of the flower.
Yeah, sir.
Okay, so again, that is the this all are the different types of placentation. What you need to remember is probably just the name and an example, and yeah, how does it look like? That probably you can remember by the name itself. So these are the
Sir,
yes,
does pea plant also fall under marginal?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then I will move forward just the simpler part without going into this description, which is ideally not in the syllabus, but then I found these questions somewhere in the question bank, so I thought I should just explain it to you. So based on the position of the ovary, the flowers, they are classified into three different types. Hypogynous, like I said, there are various ways of classifying flower. This is one of the way of classifying flower with respect to the position of ovary. So that is hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. Hypo means below, peri means around or along the periphery, and epi means on the top. So hypogynous flower, the ovary is on the top and all the other whorls, that is petals, the stamens and the sepals, they arise from below the ovary. That's why hypogynous. Perigynous, that means they arise from the side. So it can be like this side or it can be little higher, and that will be the side of the ovary. And the epigynous, the ovary is at the base and the flower parts, the other floral parts, they arise from the top of the ovary. So these are the three different types of flower based on the position of the ovary. That is, hypo means all the other floral parts, they arise below the ovary. Perigynous, along the periphery of the ovary, all the other floral parts will arise. And epigynous, above the ovary, all the floral parts will arise on the flower. So that is the description, and again you can read this, and the examples are also there. Hypogynous is like your tomato, tulip, and brinjal. So sometimes you might have seen brinjal with the flower at the base, right? Ovary is kind of at the center, or even tomato for that matter. I'm sure you must have seen either of these two. So that is the type of hypogynous. Perigynous, again, all those rose, peach, and the cherry, these are the different examples where the floral part, they are surrounding the berry, that is the fruit or the ovary part. And the epigynous, for example, cucumber. Now, if you have ever seen a young cucumber at the one end there will be stem of the cucumber, and the other end you would have seen a small flower. That is nothing but the ovary is at the base and the floral parts are on the top. So this part will develop into cucumber while the flower is still intact with the young cucumber, and as and when it grows further, the flower just falls off. So that is the epigynous. Yes.
So like we have the Loki plant.
Hmm.
So in that, like whenever the fruit comes, then the fruit is like the long, like a very small. It's like a long thing first, and at the top there's a small flower which eventually dries up. So is that also epigynous?
Loki, that bottle god, is also like epigynous for sure.
Yeah, because that's what.
Yeah.
Sir, is hibiscus epigynous?
Hibiscus will not be epigynous because hibiscus will be more of perigynous, I feel. Because the ovary is and the floral parts, they are surrounding. Like what we look at, where are the petals and sepals arising from in that particular flower? Now, if you look at the hibiscus, it is surely not below, right? It is surely not on the top. So the remaining type is this one, that is perigynous. And if you look at the hibiscus flower, let me just open this. So hibiscus, not fruit, flower. So which one will be good to see? No, this is very difficult to find that vertical arrangement. Let me just put vertical. Oh yeah, this would do as well. Vertical section, yeah. So if you look at this, you can see they all are at one place, right? They are arising except the sepals, which is obviously forming a thalamus part at later, but you can see all of them, they arise from one point. This is the actual section. Yeah, so that's when I said this would be a perigynous flower. Okay, anyone else has any other question? I have a quiz, but then I leave it to you. You can do it on your own. Just go through those questions. It's not like that difficult. You can surely find it very easy. Just to show you this particular part.
We can do it right now. We have time.
Okay, I don't mind. Okay, then why don't you go ahead with the first question, Akshat? Which of the following justification for considering the above flower as a complete flower? This is the flower that they have shown. And what is the justification they are asking? Based on which point you can say that is a complete flower? You can take time to think. It's okay. You don't have to answer right away because I took your name.
Sir, I really did not expect.
Sorry. Okay, Anavi.
So, is it because of the presence of all four walls?
Yes. I guess Anavi, you told me to call you Anavi, not Anavi, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just realized that, but I will take some time to remember it. Sorry about
Sir, it's okay. It's okay.
Huh. Okay. Then question 2. The region labeled C and D, they are called reproductive whorls of the flower, and the whorls are C and D. So C is here and D is here. Which are the C and D part? And the options are, where is it? Yeah, here. Who would like to?
Anther and
Sir,
stigma.
could you show the
Anther.
C and D again?
It's
C?
anther and stigma.
So we basically answer it's the portals are.
Yeah, so D is stigma and C is anther.
Yeah, anther and
Is
stigma.
D stigma?
Sorry, sir,
Oh,
ulta,
D is the
ulta,
whole
ulta. Sorry,
thing.
my bad.
Yeah.
So the options are kind of confusing here. Gynoecium, androecium, stamen, carpel, carpel, stamen, anther, stigma.
But so aren't the reproductive
that's
parts
true.
actually gynoecium, androecium?
So that is when I'm saying, look at where this parenthesis is made. It is made on complete this style stigma ovary, right? Or stigma style and ovary. And C, it is made for all of these, right? That is your E, which is the anther part, F, which is the filament part, but anther and filament of all this. So all these stamens, that is C, and all the carpel, that is D. Now here it is only one shown, but still. So that will be, C will be gynoecium, no. So first is wrong. Stamen, yes. And the carpel, yes. Is
Yeah.
it just anther and stigma? No. So the correct option is this one. Stamens and carpel.
So,
Correct?
it will be gynoecium and androecium when they are collective.
When they are asking for D and C, that would be the correct option. They have asked for C and D in sequence.
So, carpel and gynoecium are interchangeable.
Can be.
Okay.
Because if the flower has only one, obviously there is only one gynoecium and one carpel.
Yeah.
Because it still remains the female reproductive part. Okay, then third question. The part labeled A is the outermost wall of the flower. It is part labeled A.
Sepal.
Yeah.
But is it sepal or is it calyx?
Calyx.
Look at the option.
Collective, no.
Alex.
Yeah.
So
calyx.
And in the question it says
Sir,
whole,
can you
right?
go up again and show A?
Sorry.
Can you show A again?
Yeah.
So now remember, the question is the outermost wall. Which is the outermost wall? It is calyx,
Calyx.
right?
Oh, but what was perianth?
Perianth was fusion of calyx and what is this?
Petal.
Yeah, petal.
Corolla.
Sepals and petals.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope you understood. They are asking for the outermost wall, right? If they are just asking the part label A is, then you can say sepals. But also in option, if you look, there is no sepal. Yeah, it might get a little confusing there. Then fourth one, stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, labeled C. Each stamen consists of two parts, labeled as E and F in the diagram. Now what is it? E and F. I just said it.
Anther and filament.
Yeah, E is anther and F is filament. So that is the second option. Again, all the other options would be incorrect. Some people by mistake, they also label it as a style, right? Because it's a tubular structure ultimately. But then style is not a part of male reproductive structure. So that way, this would become wrong. We will take this last question. The region labeled A and B are called as vegetative walls of the flower. And the walls are, what do you think would be, without even looking at the diagram? Forget about the sequence here. We'll go back to the diagram.
Vegetative is green.
Not necessarily. Vegetative means which is not reproductive.
Sir, can I
Oh.
guess?
Yeah.
Calyx and sepals?
Calyx and sepals. Now calyx and
Calyx and
Calyx
corolla.
and corolla.
Calyx was the same thing.
calyx and sepals would be the same thing.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what you're asking, no vegetable rolls. No, but then
But they are the
calyx
same
No,
thing.
but
you can't
But
say that.
calyx and sepals are the same thing. They are not the
it's
same
same
vegetative walls.
So
Mm.
the A part is your calyx, B part is your corolla.
petals are also counted as vegetable.
Now what is the assumption that you are doing here is we consider vegetable always green, right? That is the logic probably you are bringing here. Vegetative means they are non-reproductive. That is the vegetative parts. Are you getting it? Reproductive parts are your androecium, gynoecium, or what we call as stamen and carpel. These are the reproductive part. Apart from that, there is calyx, corolla, or which is we call sepals and petals. These are the vegetative whorls of the flower.
So it's calyx and corolla.
Yeah. Yeah, even calyx and carpel, carpel is a reproductive structure. Corolla and carpel, again carpel is reproductive structure. So these two are wrong. These two are same. So the second option, that is calyx and corolla, is the correct one. Okay, so you can go through these questions. If you have any difficulty, we can discuss it sometime in the next class. But we can stop here.